Welcome back to the workshop, and another week. Quite a lot's happened, and you might be able to see behind me the results. I've got a lot of extra space. I'll come to that in a minute. But first of all, just want to catch up with a couple of you subscribers. Really want to say thank you for reaching out and passing comments on what you've been seeing on the channel. First of all, I want to offer an apology to Paul about the last episode, which was number 73. He said, sorry, I'm finding it hard to watch. The background music is too loud and distracting. Thanks ever so much for the reminder, Paul. It's something that slipped my mind. I know somebody mentioned it earlier in an earlier episode, but last week I was in quite a bit of a rush to get the video out, and I didn't pay enough attention to the sound quality, so I will try and pay better attention to that this time. I've been having a long chat with Maker Boy Old Boy, and that prompted, really, I was in the middle of this tidy up when all this chat happened, and I really want to say thank you. Made me smile, some of your comments, and we're all in it together. We all have this challenge of keeping the workshop tidy. It's a problem that I've had, and I probably always will have, much to my wife's chagrin. She's been trying to get me to tidy up for years, and it's only when absolutely necessary do I end up doing anything. But I'll come to that in a minute. But as I say, just want to say thank you for reaching out and passing these comments. It's really helped me to appreciate you and what you appreciate about this channel, even to the point of the phraseology differences between British English and American English, and the terminology that we use, for example. It's lovely to be able to see all of this in action, and I appreciate your comments. But anyway, to what's been happening in the workshop. Now, on Thursday afternoon I had extra time available, so I thought I would do a little bit in the workshop. I didn't have the camera that I'm filming this on then. All I had was my mobile phone. So here's a little clip of what happened on Thursday. Now this all started because I wanted this length of MDF. It's the full length sheet of 2.4 meters. It's 12mm thick, and it's about half width. I wanted this because I wanted to, I reread the instructions for the sled for the thicknesser, and I realised that the sled I'd made, which is just here on the workbench, is not going to be long enough. I need it longer than the longest piece I'm milling, because otherwise the ends will tip and then snipe, and that's something I want to avoid. So I need a piece of MDF that's longer than 1 meter, which is the longest piece that I have just here next to the tape. So it all started with this. Now, this piece of timber was, you might have noticed it before, it was right against that far wall of the workshop, and it was, I've discovered, holding some of the pitch pine up on the top shelf. Proud of the shelf supports. So I then discovered I'd got to move no end of stuff. Everything down here is now behind me, and it's in one big pile. A lot of stuff just fell down. All of the trimmings from the oak on this project fell down. All of this rough cut oak that I've yet to process fell down. So I've had comments going back to episode number 65, and I'll dig out the comment and include it in the description of this video. And a tidy shop is the mother of invention, and you're not kidding. So at the moment I'm just in the process of tidying up, and I'll see how it goes. This is just a supplementary. I wasn't intending to spend all afternoon tidying the workshop. It's a good job it's not freezing outside, and it's a good job it's not throwing it down with rain today. But anyway, we'll carry on. Now, a semblance of order has been established. I've managed to get everything back on the shelf, and everything is much safer now because it's stacked far better. The odds and ends of mainly plywood and MDF are now here, but stacked quite neatly. The longer little bits are over in the corner there. This is the cabinet on rollers that I have put decent scrap in and offcuts, and if you remember, that's on rollers, so I can move that around. I needed to do this anyway because when I'm working on the bench with a lot of the batch work I've got, I am going to need quite a bit of space this side to actually get the workpiece flowing across. So that's now nice and tidy. I've got place to work, and I can actually get to the sheets that I want. So my first thought is I'm going to cut that down with the circular saw to just over a metre, say 1.2 meters, and then I can use the batten for its sides. So you'll see the result of this later on in the video, because that will be on Saturday. This is Thursday, and at the moment I'm just working on my camera phone, but normal service will be resumed in a few minutes. As a result of all of that, as you see, a lot tidier, and the sled that I made last week, after rereading the instructions in the Fine Woodworking magazine, I ended up varnishing that side. That's the one that will go on the bed of the thicknesser, but varnishing that side so I can, if necessary, put some double-sided tape down there to hold pieces into place. That's the big one that I was working on Thursday, and again, same construction, same sizing, except this one's 1.2 meters long. That side is varnished, so that's what I'll be doing first off this afternoon. So my first task is just to see how the loading of the sled is going to go. Now, as I said, the longest piece will be about a metre, so those want to go on first, and obviously the cut side wants to go on as opposed to the already planed side. And quite variable in width from the look of it. So see how this goes. One more piece. There we go. Those are quite well snugly fitted. That's good. Now the next thing I just want to check is what the varying heights are. Now that thinnest piece, or narrowest piece I should say, is 43. That's quite thin, but it's definitely tapered, because that bottom end is nearly 47. Now that's going to pose a few problems, isn't it? Because I'm aiming for about 50 mil. So that one in itself is going to cause problems. So let me take that one out. And just double check it. Yeah, about 42. And about 47. So I'm going to leave that one out of it, I think, at the moment. Although that in itself doesn't have a label on it. So put another one in there. That one will do. Much better. Okay, so those differences in height, that's the narrowest one. 47. So if I aim for 47 for everything, that's going to work. That will give me consistency. It's not quite what I wanted, but it will be consistent. Okay. So the next thing will be to make sure that the bed of the thicknesser is at the right height. And the last thing I want is a full sled of wood to tip at either end. So what I've done is just set up the roller stands at both ends, just to give me a little bit of support as the whole thing's travelling through. So let me attach the vacuum and then, right, let's make a start. Well, that went very well. Just 3 small passes. There was a little bit of movement on a couple of these lengthways, but there was no movement at all up and down, and I'm very pleased with that. That's given me a lovely finish on all of them. So yes, I'm pleased with the sled. I'm pleased I've got uniformity with these lengths. So the length now is, or the width I should say, is 46.6. That'll do. That's close enough to 50 without losing too much material, but more importantly giving me uniformity. So all I've got to do now is the rest of the stock. Now this is the second sled, and I thought I'd just see how many pieces of wood I could get in. Obviously limited by how wide it is, and I've got most of them in. There are just the 2, 4, 9 pieces left, and I'm struggling because of this gap. So I thought, can I squeeze a piece in? Well, certainly not this stock that I'm milling at the moment. So what I've done, on the trolley with all of my offcuts, there's a piece of beech that this is 48 wide, but it's just thin enough to go in and just hold everything in place. So I'll just make sure by making sure everything's flat. There we go. Okay, so reattach the vacuum. Obviously that's going to be a lot heavier now, so even more important so that I keep these stands taking the strain both ends. Right. Right, so this is showing me limitations of the sled, how much I can expect of it, because you'll have noticed I took some wood out of it before I started this pass, because these here weren't being held securely. Some of these aren't, but they won't move that way. That was the important thing. Those could come out if I wasn't careful, that's why I took them out. But as I say, that's getting me the idea of what limitations I can have, but at least these are done. I've just got the few left now for a third session. Now I am really pleased with the way that this has gone. Ever so pleased. Now, actually might have to take it down just slightly more, because that's just under 47. Sorry, just under 48, and I'm aiming for 46.5, aren't I? So, try again. That's fine. That's everything down to size. So, that's the nominal 25 by 50 done to their finished size. Finished size is 19.5 by 45. That's fine, but they're all consistent. That's the main thing. Right, I've got two pieces at 100 that I just need to make sure what the final side is flush. Then I can start batch cutting the biscuits. Right, there are only two rails that are 100 wide, and it's going to be easier if I just put them through on the planer and put them through together. That means both of them will be the same size, and that's going to be a fairly simple job. The sawn side is quite good, so all I'm going to do is one pass at a 0.5 millimeter cut, and that should take care of everything. So just adjust the safety guide, attach the extractor, and we're ready. Et voila! That's that done nicely. So I'll just pack the thicknesser away, and then we can get sorted out for the jointing of boards. Right, the next thing is to start thinking about the jointing of the boards. Now, I usually use biscuits for this, and I've got a specific router cutter for cutting the slots for the biscuits. Rather than using a dedicated biscuit machine, I prefer to use the router. I find it just more versatile than having just one specific machine for it. So all I've got to do is start laying out the components and making sure I mark where things are going to go. So I've bundled each board together with a bit of masking tape, and so first things first, it's lay the pieces out, keeping them all together. And deciding which piece is going where. Now I've just realised that is a sawn edge rather than a planed edge, so I'll keep that on the edge rather than in the middle, so that the joint will be a good one. So move that one out of the way. And at this stage I'm just deciding which pieces are going where for the sake of togetherness. So what looks good. Right, now for me there's no right or wrong on this, it's just what looks right for each piece. So laying out of where the biscuits go, and then marking across the workpiece. So keeping everything looking straight, I'll just mark roughly there, and then start marking across. Giving me a rough idea of where I'm going to be making the cuts. There's nothing, I'm leaving myself a nice margin on either side of the biscuit. Right, so that's what I'm going to do for all of these, and I think that's as far as I'm going to go for today. I'll get all of the pieces marked, then I can start cutting next time. Right, let's crack on. There we go. All of the panels marked up for the jointing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 panels all together. That's going to be a lot of jointing, so next time it'll be a case of setting the router up on the bench and making a start with that. Now again, another little piece of housekeeping. Probably won't be an episode next week because we have a wedding to attend, so this is probably going to be for 2 weeks time, and we'll see how we get on then. One of the problems that I have thought about is where to keep all of the stock so it's out of the way, free from the bench. I think what I might be able to do with the router in use with the fence, I should be able to use this piece of the bench for storage, because all of the work will be here and going to the left of the bench, so I should be all right, but we'll see how we go on. Anyway, thanks ever so much for coming along with me on this journey. You're making it a very enjoyable and helpful experience for me. The experience that you have and are sharing it with me is giving me that encouragement. So thanks ever so much, and I'll see you next time.